You're listening to Operation Self Reset with Jake Naraki. What is going on, Resetters? Welcome back to Operation Self Reset, the one and only place to change the person that you are right now to that person that you strive to be. Maybe you want to be that guy that shows up on time. Maybe you want to be that guy that can talk to anybody in line. Whatever it is, we are going to try to transform your life in that direction. So today is a great podcast. We have on Pat Flynn. He is from smartpassiveincome.com. I highly suggest you guys go check him out if you guys are interested in making money online. It's funny because this is all about life transformation. I just talked about how you guys, should be more confident talking to people in line, and then I changed right into, Pat, making money online. So totally two different streams. But I want to let you know that his name is Pat Flynn. He does this. He has a website about making money on the internet. That doesn't mean that this is all about making money on the internet today. We're still going to be talking about tips, strategies, and tools that we can use to improve our own life. It's just funny to me. If you're not laughing, then I'm sorry. So it's just awkward for me then, I guess, because I'm laughing in a room by myself. But anyway, it's not about me. It's about changing your life. So here we go. I want to say, first off, thanks again for you guys sending me with all the emails. You guys love the tips. The one reoccurring email I get time and time again, and I'm loving it, it's hilarious, is you guys having issues of not hitting the snooze button. Oh my gosh, people have been cursing me out, saying, why did you challenge me this? This is horrible. It's my first day not hitting the snooze button. I wish I just had a glass full of coffee and slammed it. I don't have the energy. It's hilarious. You guys are making me laugh. I do appreciate the great emails. And to kind of recap the emails, the tips that we talked about in podcast number 14, we're going to go through them real quickly for the people that wish they would have heard it. Oh, I wish I would have heard those 5 tips. What are they, Jake? Tell me so I can improve my life right now. Okay, hold on to your seat because it's going to get crazy here. The 5 tips are, number 1, wake up refreshed. Go to bed and sleep however long it takes you. Number 2, break the wrist and walk away. Get away from distraction. Achieve your dreams. Dedicate time to yourself. Number 3, set goals. Set them daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. I tell you how to do that. That's what I personally do. I think it works quite well. Number 4 is finish projects. Don't be jumping around from one project to the next. Complete that project, then move on. Do not jump into different projects before finishing the one that you're currently on. And number 5, organize your life. An organized space is an organized mind. Clean up your space. It'll clean up your mind. I'm telling you, it feels great. It's very rewarding. If you want all these tips and details, I highly suggest you guys go and listen to podcast number 14. It's called 5 Tips. Highly suggest it. Let me know what you think. And if you guys have any other tips, suggestions, questions about transforming your life, and you want to know what they are, feel free to email me at support@operationselfreset.com. So feel free to do that. I reply to everybody. It doesn't matter what it is. I am here for you guys. You have a question about changing your life. You have a question about direction. You have a question about, man, I love my job, but I know I'm meant for something better. Let me know. I'll give you the tools and resources, and we'll chat. So there's nothing better than hanging out with Jake Naraki on the internet via email, right? So there you go. So let's dive into today's content. His name is Pat Flynn. He is personally a great inspiration to myself. I highly suggest all of you guys should probably have 1 or 2 people that you look up to, that you strive to be. Pat Flynn is one of them for me. He has a great website, podcast, and video blogs on YouTube that helps people like myself or you listening to start not so much a company, but maybe an idea, maybe a project, something online. If you want to get into the online space, I highly suggest you check out Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. He gives tips on how to not only make money online the right way, it's non-scammy. He's not saying put up a website and just have people click on it for advertising rights. No, he's giving true, honest, just great information for you guys to utilize and implement into your life. If you have a day job, maybe start a little side project. I don't know. I'm just giving you guys the tools and the resources. So today, we're going to be talking with him, and he actually has an amazing story. He was let go or fired from his job that he loved so much, was architecture. And a lot of you guys can relate because there's a lot of you out there that email me and say, I was let go from my job, I was fired from my job. What do I do next? I'm positive, I have the right mindset, but what do I do? So Pat Flynn has a really great, interesting story that I know you guys will really enjoy and like. Again, we do talk about making money online. We talk about him being very transparent. He's a person that I strive to be because I want to be truly honest with you guys. If I sit here and tell you the facts and you need to be like me because I'm the ultimate man, you guys are like, dude, this guy's a joke. The one thing I really want to do is connect with you guys. You guys really are the reason why I'm doing this, because I want to help you. I was in personally a bad space, a couple of years ago, and I didn't know what to do. I was truly lost, but I knew that there was something better within me, and I just had to figure it out. And so that's why I started this podcast. It's always something I wanted to do, and Pat gave me the tools and the resources to get it going via internet and the tools for setting up a podcast and stuff like that. But I truly just want to speak from the heart to you guys because I feel that's the best way to connect with you guys listening. Without you guys, there would be no me. So I appreciate you guys so much, and I strive for that because Pat Flynn, as you will hear, is literally clear as water. And we're not talking about gunky water. We're talking crystal clear Evian water, the $4.99 water, not the generic brand water, not the 99-cent stuff. We're talking like the $5 water, the clear from the Swiss Alps somewhere out there. So here we go. It's a great interview. Take it for what it's worth. There's a lot of good tools and tips integrated in here and a lot of great ways to kind of live your life. So I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much. We'll check you on the backside of the interview. His name is Pat Flynn. He is from the Smart Passive Income. He also created a book called Let Go. He, a couple years ago, was let go from his job that he loved so much, and he went into a direction that he was not expecting, internet business, and he has knocked it out of the park. He teaches people online to start podcasts, blogs, gives value and information on how to succeed on making money online the right way. And I can personally say, Pat, from the bottom of my heart, honestly, without you, I would not be having my own podcast, blog, video series right now. So seriously, you are awesome. You inspired me to take action. For that, I'm totally 100% grateful to you. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That's so awesome to hear you say that. And I'm just so happy to be here. And to know that I was a sort of a Kindle for that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, you're great, man. So we'll dive more into that in a little bit, but I want to talk about and kind of start with your book, Let Go. This podcast, Operation Self Reset, is all about transforming yourself, changing yourself, and figuring out your true passion in life. And you were let go from your job. You worked hard in college, you got a great career path. Things didn't work out, and a lot of my people that listen are kind of going down that road too. The economy's not doing too well. So do you mind just shining some light, on kind of that process and how everything unfolded from there?
Sure. I mean, I didn't know where I was going. And I will tell you that I did know where I was supposed to go, and that is a path that I was sort of kicked off on. Like you said, I was getting good grades in college. I did all the extracurriculars that I was supposed to do in high school to impress admissions, and then even when I got a job coming out of school, I did everything I could do there to climb the ranks and climb higher in the corporate ladder, and everything was going perfect until it was summer of 2008. I discovered that I was going to get let go in 3 months' time. And it was just very sad because I had done everything right. And they even told me right before I was going to get laid off, Pat, you're one of the best, brightest, youngest guys we've had, comma, we have to let you go. Like, that just didn't make any sense to me at all. Like, those two things shouldn't be put in the same sentence without like a not in the middle. Right. And it was just, I'm very lucky to have the support that I had from my fiance at the time and also my family. I mean, without that, I definitely wouldn't have gotten the confidence to do what I was going to do, which was I turned a blog I had that I had set up just for myself to help me pass an exam while I had an architecture. Like, again, I always went above and beyond. I didn't just study for the test, but I documented all my notes so that I could, better study, but also share my notes with my coworkers and be like, hey, to my bosses, be like, look at this thing I created for everybody in the office. Like, you have to promote me. Like, that was why I created it. I didn't mean to ever create a business out of it. But when I got let go, and then I was listening to podcasts, trying to get inspiration for what else to do, I actually tried to get back into architecture to do what I was supposed to do, I thought, or what I was comfortable doing. And there was no way I was going to get another job in that industry. And even now, that industry, the architecture industry, is just very difficult right now. But I'm quite fortunate that happened because it forced me to look elsewhere and to expand outside of my normal comfort zone and do a lot of things when turning this site into a business that I wouldn't normally do. I was never comfortable with, making phone calls. I was never comfortable with putting myself out there or working on a product and selling it. Like that stuff I would have never dreamed of doing that stuff, but I had to. I had no other choice. So it wasn't without, a lot of support from my family and friends, but also the support of people who were doing this already. So I actually was proactive and reached out to people who were doing this already. I joined a mastermind group and had people who were successful online already. So they became a resource for me. And without them, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at. And so what happened was I ended up turning this sort of study guide blog that I had, and I opened up the comments, and I actually put what happened is actually I didn't I had the site maybe for a year, putting content into it, just writing notes and studying from it, and then I passed the exam in March of 2008, and then I just let it sit there. I didn't do anything. I didn't have any more need for it. But when I got let go, and then I discovered this thing called Internet Business, and then I put an analytical tool on the site, I saw that thousands of people a day were already visiting the site, and that just blew me away because I really had no idea why that was happening. It actually scared me at first. Like, why are all these people looking at my notes? Like, I was so naive about how the internet worked, and I didn't know how it worked. Sure. But I had written so much stuff, and it was apparently very good that Google put it really high in the search engines, and then people found it, and then they shared it. I found a link to my site, and I saw traffic coming to my site from all these different places that from blogs and other forums to actual United States Green Building Council chapter website. So they were actually linking to me as a resource. So it just took off from there. And I actually, in October of 2008, I published an ebook for my audience there. And I was very, very scared. I had no idea what I was doing. Again, luckily I had the guidance of other people, but it was a very, very, very scary thing for me to do, but I did it. And I remember getting my first sale at 8:40 a.m. on that day on October 2nd, 2008. And I was incredibly, I was just jumping off the walls, and I had to walk outside after I made my first sale. And the interesting thing is when I got back into the office, I was still working at the time. I was on my last week of work, actually. Okay. So the timing was actually very perfect. But I went outside because I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. It worked. I couldn't believe it. I'm so happy. I've totally succeeded. And I went back to my desk and I checked my email again, and there's a second PayPal notification. I had made a sale while I was outside walking. And that just was like, wow, this is incredible. I can't believe this is happening. And it just opened my eyes to all the possibilities and opportunities that were out there. And that's when I started the Smart Passive Income blog, which is where most people know me from now.
Right, for sure, man. Yeah, that's an amazing process you went through there. A couple of questions. First off, when you started that little blog, you said you weren't really into the internet business and all that stuff at the time, or even creating, anything like that. How did you start that first blog? It's not the easiest thing. It's kind of overwhelming at times, but did you just get guidance from Internet Business Mastery? Did that kind of, you got a couple of tips? And how did you create that first website?
No, actually, when I created it, I didn't even know about Internet Business Mastery. I was just getting started with it, actually. But I did know about blogs because I had a blog in college on the Zanga platform, where I was just blogging every day about what I ate for dinner or whose party I went to, stuff for people who, my friends could go and just check up on me. So I knew how a blog worked. And that's sort of where I got the idea of, wow, I can actually use this maybe as a resource that I can go to, because I knew I could categorize things and I could tag different things so I can come back to them later. That's where it came from. And then I discovered WordPress. So I heard somewhere that WordPress was the way to go when I was trying to because Zanga was very limited as far as the capabilities. And I just looked up how to start a blog, and then I found WordPress, and that's when I
snowballed from there.
Yeah, and it was very easy to sort of set up because I got on a hosting plan. It was like one click. I just wanted it to be as easy as possible, and I saw a one click install for a blog. I was like, sweet, and then I installed a free theme that was just a standard default theme pretty much at first. And so it didn't really take that much work. I just wanted something where I could start typing content out and categorizing and tagging things and linking to external resources to help me study for this exam. And that's how it all started.
Nice. Now, one thing you talked about was support, from your fiance, now wife. And you also talked about your father. He actually suggested that you go back to college. How was that relationship between your fiance is really supportive of you going down this new direction? Your dad's telling you to go back to school. Where were you at? Were you trying to please maybe your dad, but you knew that that wasn't the course of action that you needed to take?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about my dad was, he's always right. He's always been right. He's always
Sure.
made, he's always helped me make the right decisions in life. And when he told me I should go back to grad school, I was, I had a big debate in my head because, again, he was always right, and he was right. I could have gone back to school. I could have gotten a grad degree, a master's, and come out of it with a better position in the architecture world and potentially a higher paying job as a result. And that's absolutely true. I totally could have done that. But then I remembered, I had done everything right before, and I was still kicked out. What's to say I wouldn't get kicked out again, or I would just be disappointed again from going down this path? I had to take control. I had to give myself as much control as possible. And if I wanted my failures or things that bad to happen in my life to be a result of my own wrongdoing, as opposed to something that I couldn't control, like all this other stuff that was happening. And then, of course, I had the amazing support from my wife, which is, that was the most important thing. Because I honestly, if she was like, you got to work, if she was on my dad's side, I totally would have been like, okay, this is two people I trust and love. I have to do what they say because that just makes sense. And, if it wasn't for my wife saying, no matter what you do, it's going to work out. I believe in you. That was so important. I mean, I without that, I definitely wouldn't have tried it.
What do you say to somebody that that kind of went through the same situation, that they're getting pulled in a different direction that they know is right? Do you suggest going with their gut, or should they really do some research and figure out the best plan of action for that individual?
Yeah, I think there's something to say about following your instinct and your gut. You wouldn't think of that unless it was something worth thinking about.
True.
And I definitely think it's smart to do some research and make sure you're doing the right thing and going the right direction. But there's a difference between making sure you're going to do it perfectly versus just doing it and shipping it.
Right.
A lot of people get stuck on trying to make things perfect or trying to see if like the path they're going to go down is the right path, and it's hard to know sometimes unless you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side of the coin, you have to think about, well, what's going to happen if you don't do it?
Right.
What's worse? And I would much rather live with the oh wells than the what ifs.
Right.
The what ifs are just going to eat you up.
Oh yeah, forever. And then so you created then a book, a Kindle book, and also it's on Snippet app. It's called Let Go. And it's basically the story you just kind of told us about, and you have some great articles in there. You have like video and pictures, you have of the first, of Panera, the place that you were told you were let go, correct?
Panera was where I had my first mastermind meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually,
Don't mess it up.
No worries. And I was told I was let go in the office in Irvine, and that's when I talked about moving back with my parents and that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, the book is called Let Go. It's called Let Go, obviously, because I got let go from architecture, but also because, more importantly, I had to let go of sort of what I was conditioned to learn in order to find success, and let go of the sort of fears that I had in order to, really push forward and find these opportunities and take advantage of them. And, I'm just really, really happy that I've been able to document the story in a way that I feel, it's very personal and emotional, but also gets people to take action. I've gotten countless number of emails and actually some handwritten notes from people saying that this book, as short as it is, it's a very short read, but it does include a lot of videos and stuff, interviews with my dad actually about what we just talked about, and interviews with my wife too, which is really interesting. But emails and notes from people saying, this was a game changer for them, and it's getting them to, keep their eyes open. Sure. And also take action when they necessarily weren't going to they weren't going to do that.
Yeah. And on the cover, you have an elephant. And can you explain why you put an elephant on the front cover?
Yeah, on the cover. There's an elephant sort of with chains on one of its leg and sort of breaking free from its chains. And besides the obvious motif of just breaking free, the elephant in particular is there because the way they train elephants is very interesting. What happens is when they're born, if you want to train an elephant, you tie it into a chain and put a stake on the ground and put the other end of the chain on there. And, when they're small, they're not going to be able to break free, and they're going to try and they're going to try. And eventually what happens is they stop trying. And, because it's painful for them, or they understand that they're just not going to break free. And so what happens is when they're big, these elephants grow to become huge, powerful animals. You don't need, they're going to be absolutely trained and conditioned to know that, trying to get away is painful. So they're just going to be absolutely obedient in that way. I mean, what happens is that they're not even going to try to break free from that same exact small, tiny chain that they could easily break free from, but they won't, because again, it's that thing that they were conditioned to learn. I mean, there's other sort of similar motifs, like I think it was Zig Ziglar who talked about the fleas.
Cap the fleas, yeah.
Yeah, you cap how high a flea could jump, and then you take the cap off after every once in a while, and then all of a sudden, that's as high as it's ever going to jump. Same thing with a barracuda. If you have an aquarium and on one side you put a barracuda and on the other side you put like a sardine, obviously the barracuda would want to eat the sardine. But if you put a glass thing in the middle, the barracuda is going to try a few times to get to it, and then eventually it's going to stop. And then you remove that glass, the sardine's going to be safe, and the barracuda won't even venture to that side.
Yeah, that's crazy, eh? And one last thing kind of before we move on here, say, for example, your best friend just got let go from their job. They got fired, whatever, things didn't work out. What's one thing, what should be their first action step? Maybe they didn't create a blog that they kind of, maybe dabbled with, and they thought, maybe I'll check this out and see where this goes. What would be the number one action step that you would tell somebody that just got in a position that they let go from their job? What would you say to them?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, because I get a lot of people asking me that actually, and they're like,
okay,
oh, what blog should I start, or what internet business should I start right now? And my answer is, don't start an internet business right now, because that stuff takes time. I was lucky that I had, a year sort of time in between when I started it and then when I got let go, where it gave itself time to, build an audience and all these other important things that are required in order to build a successful online business. I mean, there are businesses that start, fairly quickly, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And so my recommendation would be to consider doing that. And that should be your end goal, I think, if you, don't want to go back to what you were doing, or you want to begin working for yourself. But in order to do that, you want to put your foot in the pool a little bit. And what that means is, I would recommend taking the skills that you have, maybe even the exact same skills that you were doing when you were let go, and seeing if you could provide those skills to other people, like not necessarily get a job, but freelance. Freelancing is probably one of the best ways to get your foot in the door when it comes to building a business, and you could potentially get paid for it too at the same time. And you make these great connections with people, and you never know what those connections will do for you. I know a lot of people. I just did an interview with a guy actually in episode 75 of the podcast, Nathan Barry. He got his start freelancing and building apps for other people. He was a programmer / designer, and he started building apps for other people that he was freelancing, and then he started to design his own, and then it took off from there. And now he's making six figures talking about designing apps, and also some apps of his own too. So I think freelancing, putting yourself out there and being able to serve others first before you serve yourself. So many great things are going to happen once you make those connections. And what happens is when you're freelancing and you're working with people one-on-one, you're doing things like that, you're better able to improve your skills, which will help you even further down the road. So I would look for other people who would benefit from the skills that you have right now.
Well, and it's also on-the-job training, and that applies to, if it goes with online, you're a documenter, or you're a mechanic or whatever. I mean, that can apply to anything, just putting yourself out there and doing it for yourself, and, you learn the business as you go and stuff like that. So that's a great, huge tip right there. Let's go into Smart Passive Income. That's where kind of your blog is housed. You also have a podcast that goes off of that. One thing that I really wanted to ask you when I knew that you were going to be coming on this podcast, you are super open about everything. I mean, you talk about how much money you make. You talk about where it's coming from. You talk about just, you're so clear and open about everything. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's nothing hidden. You are 100% open. You are as truthful as anybody can be online. And where did that come from? Now, is that just something, is that who you are, or did you grow into that? Is that something you just wanted to be like, you know what, internet is kind of scary to a lot of people. I should just be 100% open. How did you get that, and how can we apply that in our own lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of reasons for it. One is just sort of who I am in nature. I'm just always, I avoid problems and issues by just putting everything out there, so that there's no questions, there's no falsalities, or it's just like, hey, this is what's out there. This is what it is. We don't have to guess anymore. Like, this is what it is. That's just the kind of person I am. I'm not like aggressive and just tell people things that are nasty. I don't like, do any of that stuff. But I'm very honest and transparent. I mean, I always keep my audience at the top of my priority list. And when I think about my audience, that's another reason why I'm very honest and transparent. Because actually, when I started doing internet business, and doing all the research for it, when I first started, I was just sort of disgusted about what was out there. It was very scummy and scammy and car salesman-y, people playing off of hype and things like that. I would sign up to these email lists and I would just get bombarded with sales, and I didn't like that. And these people weren't even trying to build a relationship with me before selling me something. Which was not making me feel very good. So when I got into my own business, I was just like, hey, I'm gonna approach it in the way that I would want to be approached. I just want to know everything about you if you're teaching me how to do this, and I want to know how you're doing, who you are, and just I want to learn from a friend, somebody that you could be a friend with. And then, friends are always honest with other friends, I would think. And so that's why I sort of do what I do. Now, when it comes down to the money, I mean, I know it was very funny because I did my first income report that first month in October of 2008, when I first launched my ebook, and I shared how much money I made from my ebook. And that really got people going. I saw how much people appreciated that, and people were like, wow, like nobody talks about this stuff. You just shared it straight up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a big deal to me, but seeing how much of a big deal it was to other people, I was like, wow, I got to keep doing this. I wasn't actually planning to do a monthly income report. Yeah. I was just going to do it that one time and say, hey, I did this. This is how much I made, and that's it. But it became a monthly thing, and now it's sort of the most popular post on my site that people always reference. And I'm just very fortunate to have an amazing audience who can see that it's not just about the numbers. It's about the lessons and everything that went along with, or how to get those numbers, or what made those numbers happen. And sometimes those numbers, they go down. Sometimes specific businesses that I've created have failed, and I think that's an important part too, because I think everybody knows that this isn't easy. This isn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight, and you're never going to get it right the first time. And I think if you, especially in my space, if you're like just saying this works every time, or push button easy, or overnight success, it's obvious that you're just making stuff up.
Yes.
So why not just be completely honest and say, hey, this stuff doesn't always work. The stuff is not an overnight success, and you won't get rich right away unless you keep trying and pushing forward and pushing through those failures. So that's the sort of, it's so interesting because that's just the way I would want to be approached. But when I started doing this, everyone was like, wow, this is so different. This is incredible. And it sort of freaks me out a little bit how being honest and authentic is being different. I really I wish it wasn't that way. Yes, it's doing me a favor that everyone else is not like this, but I would much rather have this be the way everybody does business. So I'm trying to, I'm actually put in a cool position now where, I'm sort of a thought leader now, and people look up to me, and I really take that to heart, and I don't want to take advantage of that, but I also know that I do have an advantage where I can show people how, and that it is also possible to do business in a legit way.
Right. Right. And you know what? And that pertains to just daily life too. Just being an honest, nice, genuine person and not trying to scam people. And this world can be a little better place. And you know what? And I will say you are a trendsetter, because I am in a mastermind group, and we always keep saying that to each other. Just be open. Really, don't hide anything. Don't be scammy. Don't try to, trick them into doing something that they don't want to do. So you really are, making that curve in a good direction, and thank you for doing that, because I strive to do that on this podcast and when I, provide content to people, even the email list, I never want to be pushy. I never want to swamp them with so much stuff and they go, oh, forget this. I really want to, provide value, like you always say. And I think everybody can learn that not only from internet business, but just, in their daily lives, so much to go from there. But the question I have, was there repercussions from being so open? Were other people online being like, Pat, what are you doing? Why are you showing your income? This is ridiculous. You're being too honest. You need to, hide those numbers. Did anybody come down on you like that?
Nobody said you should ever hide your numbers. I mean, I've had some people say I'm crazy or that, I shouldn't be doing this. And, there are, obvious reasons why, and this can be scary, but no negative things have ever happened. The only sort of negative thing that's happened was people don't believe the numbers. I mean, and they are sort of getting incredible right now. One, I'm not allowed to make them up just from FTC regulations. But two, I just wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did that. And three, that, the most important thing to me is the trust that I have with my audience. And so I can't lie for that reason, most importantly. And, some people have called me out and, they're, to be honest, like, you could look at those numbers and say, wow, this is all crap, and I mean, it could be, right? They're not, but they absolutely could be. But I think what's more important is not the numbers, but the lessons that go along with them. That is the proof. And there's actually things you could look up to see if things are working the way I'm talking about or not. I actually had a guy last month totally call me out on it, saying, this is totally fake. This is unreal. You're just trying to gain our trust and using these fake numbers. I was like, dude, get on a Skype call with me. I will show you my accounts and everything. And I got on a Skype call with him, and then he came back a day later and left a comment saying, he was wrong. And so, I'm just all about, like I said, being honest. I mean, I obviously didn't show him like my bank accounts.
Right.
I showed him like my affiliate reports coming from these sites, and I showed him logging me in. I mean, he was very like, okay, let me make sure the URL's right. Okay, let me make sure you're logging in. Making sure I wasn't like using Photoshop.
Jeez,
I was like, dang.
Come on.
But there's people out there like that, and you know what? That told me. Well, maybe I'm not doing a great job of showing people that this is for real. Or maybe I need to do a better job of showing people that this can actually happen. So, those are some things to think about. And, there are certain things I'm probably going to do differently, maybe to see if I can, I'm not trying to prove myself or defend myself. I want people to understand that this is for real and that they could do it too.
Right. Right. And you know what? What you said right there was taking the time and talking to somebody that didn't believe you. I mean, that just shows the person you are through and through. I mean, if anybody else would have got that comment from somebody, they would have either wrote them back a mean comment or just said, forget it. But you took the time to say, you know what? Here, I'll show you. You know what? You took the extra. I mean, you're a very busy person, and you held their hand and you showed them everything as clear as day. And that just shows who you are. I mean, you are really, man, I'm telling you, you're doing a great job. I mean, you're just so open and honest. It's so rewarding to hear somebody like yourself. So let's roll into, there's a lot of, we always talk about in this podcast, in my podcast, resetting, getting over your fears of meeting people, getting out there and stuff like that, putting yourself online and being so open about everything. We already talked about your income report, but was there a big fear that you had to overcome personally when you started this project?
I mean, there's a lot of them. I want to be a good example for people.
Sure.
And I want to succeed so I can show others how to succeed. And, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things the right way and also, crush it too, because I want to inspire people. I mean, and I still get scared of, going down the wrong path. I think that's what it is that I'm scared about most now, because I'm at a point now where I'm making good money, and I've seen a lot of people, a lot of friends that I actually knew who got to this point in their career and they became a totally different person. And that's what I don't want to happen. And so I actually call on my audience, my email list and on the blog, if you see me going down the wrong path, like, please set me straight, call me out on it, because I don't want to go down that path. I am not the type of person to, get a ton of fancy cars or live in a huge mansion or anything like that. Like, I am perfectly happy living the lifestyle that I live now, and I want to keep it that way. But I want to continue to provide inspiration and results for people too. Other thing, that I at first, when I first started, I mean, this is a good story. In March of 2009, I had just earned $30,000 a month from my ebook at greenexamacademy.com. Best month I had. The next month, I got a nice little letter from the United States Green Building Council, who's the company that actually puts on this exam, saying you got to stop with what you're doing. And they gave me a cease and desist letter. And I didn't read the whole thing at first. I just saw cease and desist, we'll take action, blah, blah, blah. And I just freaked out. And I was crying. I didn't know if I was cut out to do business because I didn't know what I did wrong. I didn't, I was like, am I just way in over my head here? Am I trying something I shouldn't be doing? Is this a sign that I should go back to architecture? And then I hired a lawyer to help me figure this out. And apparently, what happened was I was just using a trademark in my domain name. They weren't coming to me for my business because of what I was doing as far as my business was concerned. They were just concerned about the domain in the URL, which was and the funny part was it wasn't specifically because of me. It was specifically because there were other sites popping up that were giving lead a bad name as a result of having lead in the domain name and other stuff they were saying. So they wanted to get rid of those sites. But in order to do that, they had to get rid of all of them, which included mine. And so, the struggle there was just me trying to figure out, was I even cut out for business? Because the interesting thing is when you start a business, it's a business. And there are other things you have to do that are beyond just the normal skill stuff that you do at your 9 to 5. Like you got to put on the CPA hat, you got to put on the law hat, you got to put on the accounting and bookkeeping hat, and all this other stuff. So that really taught me to reach out to other people who might, be better in those fields. So I have like a CPA now, I have an attorney now to help me out with those types of things. But yeah, just and at first always just wondering, well, when is this, is this ever going to die out? Is this just a flash in the pan? Is this going to be short lived? And I've never even, nothing besides that moment has sort of made it feel that way.
Yeah. Now, when you were kind of you're everything's been going great for you. You've been really knocking it out of the park. How do you personally keep yourself motivated? It's easy for people to get excited about something and continue. And obviously after something like that scared you to half to death, and then you kind of got back on your feet and kept on, trucking forward. There obviously were times that you hit highs and lows and stuff. How do you keep yourself constantly motivated throughout the podcast, the blog, the videos, everything that's going on around you?
Well, there's a number of different things I do. Number one, I try to remember who I'm doing this for. And there's two specific sort of groups of people that I do this for. My family, that always keeps me motivated. Like I got to keep doing it for them. But also my audience. I know that if I don't keep moving forward, there's a specific group of people out there who are not going to benefit from the content that I have to provide. And that's not to say like, oh, I can provide the best content in the world, but it's I know I can bring stuff that actually gets people to take action and help people and help guide them. And if I don't do what I'm doing, that's not going to be out there for people to benefit from. So you have to think about that side of it too, your audience. There's another thing that I do, as far as, you want to talk about strategy, I take any sort of big goal, big project I have, and what keeps me moving forward within that project is chunking it up into little tiny goals. So really chopping it down and really, really like mentally paying attention to each little milestone and having that milestone be a win in my eyes. Really rewarding myself when I get to those little wins, just small rewards like going out for a walk perhaps, or going to get ice cream or whatever, so that it motivates me to keep moving forward and keep going to that next milestone. And I know that with every little chunk that I finish, that's a chunk taken away from, or that's a chunk closer toward that end goal. And so that's what always keeps me moving forward there. And another thing I always do, there's two other things I want to mention. Number one, I always look at people who are above where I'm at. I know I'm at a pretty high level right now, but there's a lot of people who are way above me, and I look to them for inspiration all the time. And like Richard Branson, Seth Godin, those types of people. It depends what I'm doing. I do a lot of things very project based. Like when I was writing books, I was looking at Tim Ferriss. He's an overall, Gary Vaynerchuk, Chip and Dan Heath, and those people. Those guys are all super big and very inspirational to me. And Gary is where I got a lot of the inspiration to be so transparent and honest and reach out to people who are negative. When he wrote the book Crush It, I watched him respond to his 1 and 2 star reviews on Amazon and actually say, hey, if you guys want to get on the phone call with me, I want to discuss this with you, or here's my Skype ID so we can chat about this. And just the response that other people were giving him after that was amazing. So that's exactly why I do that as far as when I respond to people. And then the last thing I do is, I'm a part of mastermind groups. I'm actually in 3 different mastermind groups, and each of them are so important to me. I would not trade them for anything or any amount of money in the world, because they are each with groups of people who are amazing and who are very important to me in my life, who know what I'm doing in my business, and also know to, when I'm down to motivate me, or they'll be honest and upfront with me with my business and where I'm going. And that's so important to me. I mean, like in the book Let Go, I talked about how it helped me get started. Well, this, mastermind groups are also what helps me keep going.
Yeah. Do you seek the help of anybody else besides your mastermind groups? Do you have like a life coach? Do you kind of, do you do meditation? Do you reach outside besides having your core group of, people to keep you accountable, keep you on track, put the pressure on you? Is there any other resources that you use to keep yourself sharp and mentally tough?
Well, I don't meditate. I've tried that because I've heard so many good things about it, and I just cannot turn it off. Like, if anyone out there knows how to do it, I need some help, because I want to get to that state of mind. Because I
second that. We might have to take that together, because I can't do it to save my life either. I keep saying that like I want to, I should, but it just never works out. It never works out. Yeah.
Like I've tried doing it in the shower, like sitting down on the tub with the water sprinkling in my back, just like trying to get away for a little bit, and then I do it for like a second, and then I'm like, I think I'm doing it right now, and then I'm like, dang it! Like I absolutely envy anyone who could do that. But I don't have a life coach or anything. I mean, I rely a lot on the mastermind groups that I have, but there are other people out there who are not in the mastermind groups that I have, who I consider like best friends. People like Chris Ducker, who, from chrisducker.com. He and I have a really good relationship, and started as a business relationship, but now we, I would let him babysit my kids, that type of thing. And we always call each other out when we see each other doing something that we shouldn't be doing. We always, give each other words of encouragement, and we are always there talking on Skype, like just randomly about life, things beyond what we talk about in the mastermind group, which is really important. And also I could say my wife too. Like, I'll talk to her about stuff. And what's nice about her is, like, she doesn't know much about how the business world works and blogging and entrepreneurship, which is nice, because I can get a very outside perspective view on things. A very honest, she's very honest with me, and she'll tell me straight up, like without using business terms, exactly what's happening or what's going. Yeah, and she motivates me like crazy too in that same way.
That's awesome. Let's kind of change gears to you now. Who do you look for, or when it came time to look into yourself, like are you a big self-help guy? Like, I know you named off like Richard Branson, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, those guys, can motivate you to no extent and give you some great information. Is there any other tools that you use to kind of look into yourself, to kind of figure out your, who you are personally in that demographic with self-help, or not really?
Well, I read all those resources, read all the self-help books. I think that's really important. But I also do a lot of self-evaluation.
Okay.
Like, I'll listen to my own podcasts 3 or 4 times over and try to think of like what I could have done better. I read my blog posts and all the comments to see what the people's reactions are. I test a lot of things. Cool. I watch my own videos, which is like, I hate doing it, but I know I have to do it to improve.
Right.
And I just, I watch a lot of other videos like TED Talks and stuff. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of public speaking lately, so I've been watching a lot of TED Talks and public speaking, things on YouTube to improve.
So you just keep yourself in check, I guess, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. Awesome. Yeah. One thing too, we talk about time management is huge. I know you got 2 kids, you got this going on. I mean, you're doing interviews and speaking and traveling and all that crazy stuff. How do you manage time? Now, I'm not looking like how do you lay out your day, but when you come it's time to focus on work, and try to maybe generalize it for anybody in any specific demographic with, online business, offline business, whatever, or what have you. How do you really focus in on your time? Do you have like a little to-do list? Do you, how do you set that up so you utilize every single moment?
Right. Well, for one, I know what I'm working on and what I need to get done. The thing is, like, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know what to do? Or if you don't know where you're going, how do you know where to go? So I always try to understand what my goals are and what specific project I'm working on. I always work, yes, I have many things going on at the sort of overlapping each other, but when I'm in work mode and focusing, I only, I turn that, I turn off all the lights and just have that one spotlight on that one thing that I should be focusing on. And that's where all those milestones and mini goals come into play. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I have a schedule. I know we always say, break away from the 9 to 5 or, get rid of your 9 to 5 job, whatever. But you still need some sort of schedule in order to stay sane, especially with the family and other people around you who need to know when you're in work mode and when you're not in work mode. And mine's not 9 to 5. I have like 1 to 3 in the afternoon and then 9 to 2 a.m., which is just the way I'm working now. It's going to change as the kids grow up, but right now that's how I'm scheduling stuff around them because that's they're what's most important to me right now. But having a schedule helps me understand when I should be focusing, and then also when I could be. At all times, I'm focusing. It helps me understand when to focus on work and then when to focus on my family. It's really important to have 100% focus wherever you're at. And those lines blur a lot of times, and they still do, but the schedule will help. There were times in the past when I'd be playing with my kids or talking to my wife, and in the back of my head, I'd be thinking about my business. And that's really crappy of me to be like that. And I think that's how most entrepreneurs are sometimes because we're just so involved in our businesses and, there's no stopping point when you're an entrepreneur, but there has to be some sort of stopping point in order for you to focus on things that are important to you other than your business. Other than that, the third thing would be, I think this is number 3, an actual physical space to do work. An office, I have an office at my house. I shut the door when I'm not in it. And I shut the door when I'm in it. So when I'm in it, I'm focused on work. When I'm out of it, it's just like a sign for me to turn it off, turn that part of my brain off. And it doesn't, it took a while to train myself to do that. And it will take some practice, but and some discipline, but it's so necessary. And so that's how, I'm able to live a happy life with my kids at home and also to get work done in my business when work needs to get done.
For sure. When you have that busy mind, you type it in your phone real quick. If idea pops in your mind, or you like, I got to interview that guy, or you write down stuff real quick, or you just totally shut that off and you go, you know what? If it comes to me again, it does. If not, no big deal. Or do you, how do you control that? Because I have the same busy mind like yourself.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, yes, there are times obviously when you're going to be in family time or personal time or even on vacation and things will pop into your head and you don't want to ignore those things because sometimes the best things happen or the best ideas come at that time. Right. I try not to check email. That's one thing because email, you can get down that wormhole. And if you're not even in a place to answer an email, then what's the point of reading it? So that's one sort of productivity tip. But anyway, yeah, if I'm with my family or if I'm whatever, not doing work and that sort of idea comes into my head, I use Evernote. And I just pop it in there really quick or do a quick little voice recording and then I'm back into it. And, because And that's the sort of lifestyle we choose in an entrepreneur, but that's the way to minimize it from getting, crazy and having it sort of engulf the rest of your life.
Oh, for sure. Now, one thing that I heard you speak of, you want to produce a physical book, correct?
I do.
And you also want to be, a big goal of yours is to be a New York Times bestseller or be on the list. Can you tell us the process of how you focus on your goals? We talk about goal setting and, setting yourself up for success, but how does Pat Flynn personally really dial in and laser focus on that idea? Obviously, you still have to write the book and all that stuff, but setting out that goal plan, do you mind kind of sharing a brief summary of how you do that?
Yeah, well, I figure out what I want to do first.
Sure.
And then, like I said, I sort of break it down into those mini milestones. And, if I don't know exactly what that's going to be, I go to other people to see, what the path was. Or I look for resources, blog posts, podcasts, other things that's all involved in that one particular project. Like, for instance, with the book writing, Tim Ferriss had a guest on his site who wrote a book and got a 6-figure or 7-figure deal. So I have that in my resource for this one particular project. And then, even when I'm not working on this project, when I come across a resource that might help for another one, I drop it in that Evernote folder. So Evernote's really important for organizing those things and putting these random things that happen in our lives into specific folders. So when I am focused on that project, I have everything right there. And then I'm really depending on work schedule or what's my top priority, I'm either working on that and really focused in on that next little milestone, or it's kind of on reserve until I have time.
Sure. Now, are you kind of utilizing that? Now, you're still training for your marathon, correct? Yeah, that's coming up, right? August here?
Yeah, it's 20 days away.
Oh, man.
And what's ridiculous is last month I got injured and sick at the same time.
Oh.
So yesterday was the first time running again in a month. And it wasn't too bad, actually. And I talked to my coach, because I have a coach. Again, anything I'm doing, I want to focus 100% on and get the most help for. So I have a running coach. And he was like, we got 20 days. It's okay. We're going to do it. We'll spend 1 week getting your legs back into it, and then we're going to go full speed and then give you maybe a few days before the race just to recover and be totally ready for the race. So he's confident I could do it. My goal was to get it done. This is a half marathon. My goal is to get it done under 2 hours. And unfortunately, I picked probably the hardest half marathon in San Diego, which is America's finest city marathon, which the last 2.5 miles is a hill. So I'm definitely in for it, but the sickness and injury just didn't help, but I'm getting back into it. And then I'm going to do what I can to sort of make, give myself the best chance to really succeed. So I'm really focused on leg strength, as well as the endurance. So I'm going to be doing a lot of leg exercises just to build that up. I'm also going to be eating as well as I can, like no junk food whatsoever, no gluten, just everything I can to give myself the best chance. Because this goal is one of those that, it's on a specific date and I can't change it. It's just going to happen. And, I'd be very, another thing is just knowing that I'd be very disappointed in myself if I didn't do it. So
you'll do it, man. You'll do great. Well, and also too, like you just said, if it's a specific date, you can't change that date. So you got to prepare yourself 100%. So yeah, good luck to you, man. And
Thank you. And that's something. There's something to be said for that.
Sure.
To have that specific date, and I don't have a specific date for the book yet, because that's sort of the traditional book. That's sort of a lower priority item. But there are things in the near future that have specific dates. I think any goal, anything that you're working towards should have that specific date, because that's just going to motivate you like crazy. And I know a lot of other people use sort of negative rewards as motivation, meaning if you don't complete whatever it is you need to complete by that certain time, something bad will happen, meaning you might lose money to a friend. I think Derek Halpern from Social Triggers, he talked about procrastination. He said in his video, he talked about this website out there where you can pledge a certain amount of money, and if you don't finish what you do, that money is going to go to a charity that you hate.
Yes. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that site's called, but I think that's, obviously it's, the negative reward, and that's a real strategy for getting things done. Like if you don't do this is going to happen. So you better do it, so.
Well, for sure. All right. So we're going to end this kind of with like a hit it and quit it kind of couple of questions here. If you were to mention 3 books to somebody that's kind of down the entrepreneur field, or wanting to get into like business, either online, offline, what are 3 books that you would say that they have to read or start with?
Sure, The 4-Hour Workweek.
Okay,
is one.
Great book.
Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath.
Okay,
and Tribes. I mean, I could list like 20 of them right now. I mean, it's hard to pick. Hard to pick.
Well, keep going for a couple more.
Okay, so what did I say? 4-Hour Workweek, Made to Stick, Tribes, The Tipping Point and Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, Think and Grow Rich,
sure.
Stand and Deliver, which is a great one for people who are doing public speaking, but also just presenting stuff online in any sort of format. Platform by Michael Hyatt, Rework by the 37 Signals guys.
Yeah.
They're also coming out with a new one called Remote, which is I can't wait for. It's coming out soon. I haven't read it yet, but it's available for pre-order. Gosh.
Awesome. That's good, man. That's good. That's too much. That's too many books right there. I got to put that.
See, I over-deliver all the time. I try to over-deliver.
Exactly. Oh, and then you forgot the last one, Let Go. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
And then if you had to choose one thing, would you go cave diving or skydiving?
Cave diving, for sure.
Oh, okay. All right. The sky, jumping on an airplane, not your thing?
Going splat doesn't appeal to me.
There you go. Fair enough. And last thing, we're going to end it on this. You end almost all of your podcasts, or you always sneak it in there somehow. You say that we are awesome listening to you. What does awesome mean for you?
Awesome just means something that somebody looks at and is just like, wow. Like, it's the wow factor.
Sure.
And that's really what it's about. Like, this doesn't normally happen, and this is actually happening right now. And when I say my audience is awesome, I mean, I'm just so blessed that everybody who's listening is a part of my life. And that's wow to me.
Awesome. And can you end the podcast here with one of your favorite quotes?
Sure. My absolute all-time favorite quote by Henry Ford is, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right."
Awesome, Pat, man. You are awesome. Thank you so much. You inspired me. You inspired countless others, and keep on doing what you're doing best. And I'll be looking forward to all of the next content you have coming up here. Thank you so much, Pat. Really do appreciate it, and we'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Pat Flynn from smartpassiveincome.com. Go check him out. He also has a podcast, Smart Passive Income Podcast. Highly suggest it. If you're interested in online business, go check him out. Great guy, honest, truthful, transparent. He will walk you through the steps. Just awesome. I hope you guys felt his personality through that interview. And just to let you guys know, Pat did complete that marathon in 2 hours and 11 minutes, and he finished it on his own. So congrats to Pat. Just very honored to have him on here. He was an inspiration to myself, and maybe he can be an inspiration for you guys out there. One thing he talks about a lot is taking action, getting over your personal fears, especially when it comes to online business, kind of like what I'm doing, but more in the personal realm. So just a great guy in general. So there you guys go. We're coming up on an hour here. I don't want to keep you on here because I know you guys got a life to live. So keep on trucking day in and day out. Keep on doing what you're doing. And in the words of Pat Flynn, you guys are awesome. I appreciate everything you guys do. If you have friends or anybody that you feel that this podcast would be a great fit for them, make sure they subscribe. You subscribe. We all subscribe to Operation Self Reset. And also, too, got a new little quick website name, osreset.com, for all you people that are tired of typing Operation Self Reset. So there you go, the new website, osreset.com. All of the show notes, all of the books referenced, all of the links to Pat's website, to Pat's podcast, to everything is on there. Go to episode number 015. You'll find everything. One last thing, if you're looking for a place to start, if you love this podcast, but you feel like you need more practical tips to get you going in the right direction, to transform your life, to change the person you are to the person that you strive to be, I highly suggest you go to the homepage, osreset.com. On the front page, there is a sign-up box. There you can receive 7 proven tips to get you started in the right direction to transforming your life. Go there, osreset.com, front page, right-hand side, fill in your email. I will send you 7 proven tips to get you going in the right direction. Thanks again to everyone for making this possible. I strive to keep doing this week after week, giving you information, giving you value, and giving you interviews that you guys can learn from, maybe change your aspect on a couple of items, and keep on trucking day in and day out. Life is tough. You are tougher. And just like Pat Flynn said, in the words of Henry Ford, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way you are right. So true. Don't get down on yourself. Believe in yourself. Tell yourself, I can achieve this. I can reach my goals. I can become a better person. I can reset my life. And your body will follow. If you believe it, you can achieve it. Guys, thanks again so much. Leave a review on iTunes if you have a chance. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Good luck. Have a good one.